he bursts forward, and what a brilliant filly is this! GOLDIKOVA in an awesome effort. Eagle Mountain and Conduit, but Conduit has the staying power, and Conduit, perfectly ridden by Ryan Moore, has won it. But it's going to be Raven's Pass to take him on. Along the inside, Henry the Navigator's coming home gamely as well, but it's going to be Raven's Pass to win it. Raven's Pass and Frankie Dettori have won the Classic.
Hello and welcome to TVG special programming as we get close to the Breeders' Cup. Greg Wolf and Simon Bray with you on the U.S. versus the World show. We're going to get a little help overseas from Timeform's Graham Smith. He will be joining us shortly. Simon, last year, the big races, the Classic, the Turf, and the TVG Mile, it was a sweep for Europe. The U.S. shut out in those big races. What can happen this year? Can the U.S. rebound in those big three?
I don't think so. I think the best horses won the races despite the surfaces last year, but the Europeans have come with a stronger contingent. A record number of 31 entries last year. We're up to 32 individual entries. We'll get more clarification on that when the entries are drawn early next week, Greg, but I think they can come away with more than 5 wins, which is what they came away with last year. 38 all-time wins since this great race started back in 1984. 25 editions. There it is, 157 victories to the U.S., 38 to the world, and 5 of those came last year.
All right, and of course, last year was huge because that was the first time that the world had broke through in the Classic, and they didn't just break through, they ran 1-2 in the race.
They certainly did. And I think the biggest anomaly when you think about European invaders coming in is that they won't like California. It's a long ship, the weather is hot, but they've had more success here than most racetracks. I mean, last year, of course, back in 2003, and of course 1997 with Spinning World in the Mile. So historically, the Europeans, despite what people think, have had good track records in the state of California.
Here's a look at the lineup for Friday. We knew going in that Zenyatta all along has been leaning towards the Breeders' Cup Classic. We didn't know that. We knew she'd be pre-entered in both the Ladies' Classic and the Breeders' Cup Classic, but it came out just the other day that her connections say they are definitely leaning towards Saturday and towards the Breeders' Cup Classic. So that is big, just in terms of intrigue for that race, whether you think she's good enough or not to go against the best horses in the world. And I think most think she certainly is in that conversation, but it's going to be fun.
It certainly is, and that entry will be predicated on her workout on Saturday, October the 31st at 9 a.m. at Hollywood Park. A race we'll be showing you live here on TVG. This was her victory in the ladies' secret coming into this, arguably one of her most visually impressive victories in the string of 13 that she's put together.
And Mike Smith takes dead aim on the leaders and asks Zenyatta to go. And just look at her go. Zenyatta strikes the front, just playing with him here. He is going back and forth. And it's Zenyatta, lethal heat running on at the rail. But Zenyatta with condescending ease wins it only a length, but so easily.
13 for 13. Mike Smith, I mean, he was consulted on this as well. He feels she deserves a shot to go up against the best there is in the world. So she adds a lot of intrigue to this race. She's going to be part of the U.S. contingent. Einstein, Giaponti, Quality Road, and the best 3-year-old in the country in Summerbird is part of the U.S. team.
Yeah, it's a strong lineup stateside with Einstein, who's proven over the synthetic surface. Summerbird has made himself the top 3-year-old in the division towards the middle of the summer and late end of this year, 2009 campaign. So it's a strong U.S. contingent. There's only probably going to be 2 coming from the world, Greg, but they are very, very talented indeed.
Yeah, Master Craftsman, his first preference, the Dirt Mile, and that looks like where he is going to wind up now. Remember last year, Raven's Pass and Henry the Navigator 1-2 in this race. We bring in Graham Smith now from Timeform. You were 1-2 in this race, the Europeans in this race last year. And Rip Van Winkle, Graham, appears to be very, very strong. What do you make of him in the Classic this year?
We really like him in the Classic this year. We think he's going to be the one. Interestingly, the 2 horses that dominated last year's Classic, Ravens Pass, Henry the Navigator, they came away from that race rated 1-3-3, 1-3-2 respectively with Timeform. Rip Van Winkle goes to the States, the better horse. He's rated 1-3-4, and we've got loads of confidence behind him.
Yeah, I mean,
we're not so bothered about points. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, when you compare, I mean, Raven's Pass to Rip Van Winkle, like you were talking about the ratings, Rip Van Winkle, a much better racehorse, I would imagine, than what Raven's Pass was coming into this, even though he won the Queen Elizabeth. So, I mean, I think your chances look very, very strong here, don't they?
He is a better horse, and he's been a bit unfortunate this year because he's running to an all-time great in See the Stars, and he's on the back end of See the Stars a few times in the first half of the year. But the second half of the year, he's come up because he's had a few problems during the season, but he's really conveyed now. He was Sussex Stakes, would Marie a miler and Paco Boy. He beat him 2.5 lengths, and he's beaten Sekinto by a length and a quarter in the QE2 at Ascot as well, and that was another dominant performance. And they've been the mile, if anything, the mile and a quarter of the Classic is an even better trip there. He's a really, really good horse, and we'll be very surprised.
Graham, we're having some technical difficulties. We have to cut in here for a second. We'll try and get that sorted out. It's real tough to hear you. But Simon, obviously, Rip Van Winkle, he does come in more highly regarded than the horse who won this race last year. He's been tackling the best horse, I think many think, in the world, and See the Stars, and he's been right there with him. Obviously, See the Stars not coming, but he proved that he was of that class. Maybe not to beat him, but that he was good enough to compete against him.
Yeah, he's run against See the Stars 3 times, and he's only been beaten about a length, 2 lengths each time he's run against him. You got to remember, if See the Stars showed up in the Classic, he'd probably be the favorite. If he had showed up in the Breeders' Cup Turf, he would have been 1-5 in there. The fact that Rip Van Winkle can run a length, 2 lengths behind him, and then come back and win the Queen Elizabeth makes him a very, very strong choice here for Aidan O'Brien, who's looking to get back in the winner's circle. It's been a bit of a dry spell as far as the Breeders' Cup goes for him.
Well, the intrigue of Zenyatta, very interesting in this race. And then Gio Ponte as well, who he's a turf horse, but he's not going to the Breeders' Cup Turf. He's going to go in this one. Christophe Clement was kind of pointing him to this one all along. We'd heard this over the past few months. What do you make of him on synthetic?
Well, he's a winner. He won the Sabota Grade 3 at the back end of last year, and I think that is one of the reasons why Christophe Clement came here. If this Breeders' Cup was run at a conventional main track, you wouldn't see Gio Ponte in this race. He would be in the turf. But I like the fact it's 1.25 miles. I think 1.5 miles is too far for this horse, really, and that's why another reason they elected to skip the turf and come here to the Breeders' Cup Classic. So a strong contingent there, also headed up by Einstein, who's proven over the synthetic surface at California as well.